This is where we hold them. This is where we fight.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.
Rob, what's good, homie?
Super Bowl Sunday, Mike. What is the plan today? What do you got going on?
Is it a sad day? Is it a sad day or a happy day?
I think it's a sad day, to be honest with you, especially with the Patriots being in the Super Bowl. I think it makes it even more sadder for me. But ultimately, it is the end of football, and there's a lot to look forward to, though, after football's over, which we're going to talk a lot about today with the PBA starting up and, obviously a lot of other sports that are going to be starting up here soon. But, yeah, I mean, it's kind of bittersweet.
Yeah, I always look. I mean, unless my team's in it and they win it, I always. I guess even if they don't win it, I always look at if they're in it, then I look at the Super Bowl as a great day. But if my team is not in it, then I always tend to look at the Super Bowl as a sad day, just because it's the end of football season in general. Means no more football on Sundays. Now, I will say two things. Number one, I think I'm less invested in watching professional sports and professional football than ever. So that's number one. And that's just a result of being busy. Those out there that get it, you get it. Secondly, I will say that especially this year with the way things are set up and the way things they're going to go with the PBA, the blow of not having football on Sundays is definitely softened. Because in a few weeks, in 2 weeks actually, we are going to have live bowling on TV, right? So we'll be able to get into that, and that, to me, I like watching that perhaps even more than I like watching football at certain times. That's certainly true, and I'm sure it's true for a lot of you guys out there as well. So definitely, it makes it easier. It makes it easier. That's one thing I like about this PBA schedule this year is that football's ending and we're going to roll right into bowling season. Right now, I know there's my main take for tonight, folks. It's sort of one of our PBA preview shows here. We're switching gears a little bit around here. It's our favorite time of the year with the start of the PBA coming. And my main take tonight is that it's a season of a lot of questions. So I know there's a lot of questions about how things are going to work with the CW network and what kind of viewership they're going to get. But just the fact that we're going to have bowling on Sundays, right, in a regular time slot where I can kind of work work around that schedule wise, right? That's a big positive to me.
There's nothing like a PBA live major show. I mean, that kind of hits different than even the regular shows, to me at least, right? Like, I love waking up on a Sunday morning and it's like US Open or it's like Masters or PBA Players Championship, right? Which is where the schedule is kind of starting, right?
Yeah, that one I'm not as hyped for because it's the first one, and we've talked,
Yeah, but it's still ultimately live bowling. There's even more questions on if Bet Rivers is going to continue putting out the betting on bowling. I haven't been on Bet Rivers in a while, so I'm not sure if even the odds have been posted for the Players Championship. Maybe during the show I'll get on and see if that. But last I checked, they don't have anything yet. So there is a lot of what ifs, but we'll go in through there is a lot of storylines this year. And I think, the major storyline is obviously what the CW show is going to look like. The announcers, how the broadcast.
We know what it's going to look like. We'll get to it in a bit.
Try to be.
There are a lot of questions. I don't know how many of them have to do with what the show is actually going to look like. It's going to look very much the same, I think.
Yeah,
But yeah, we'll get to
talk more.
All right. Some regular business first. All right,
Yeah.
some regular business first.
Before you get in the league review, Mike, I want to talk about an update with my back because
Go ahead.
I know people are invested in that for some reason. I had an MRI this past week. I haven't got the official doctor report yet, but I did get the official MRI report, and it looks to be like a sprained ligament in my one of the like ligaments that's close to where my back or my spine is. The good news is from what the MRI results, which I plugged into obviously ChatGPT because I'm an AI guy, saying that it is not a root or any kind of bulging disc that is on top of a nerve, which would have been a headache and a hassle to have to deal with. This is just something I sprained, and I just have a recovery. I did want to say that I am itching to bowl again, which is what this back injury did. I woke up one morning and was just like, man, I really want to bowl. So I will be slowly, I'm not getting into any crazy action matches to get started. I am going to slowly introduce myself back into it and see what I want to do. Ultimately, though, I really want to bowl just tournaments, local tournaments, probably some TAT stuff, maybe possibly sign up to bowl the Masters next year with all the other 500 hacks that bowl with that tournament being an open entry. Just because when I start bowling, I feel like I need a big tournament somewhere in that like year when I'm bowling, right? Like I feel like all the practicing and drilling equipment, getting better, trying to get better, work on stuff. I feel like it always has to be like a bigger goal for myself. I'm not happy just bowling a league. I'm not just happy bowling local tournaments. I kind of feel like there always has to be in my like world a bigger tournament to shoot for. For me, we've had Jamie McWilliams on. We did that interview. For me, the TAT is to me like the Super Bowl of tournaments for myself. It's a tournament that I think I can win. I've been close before to win that tournament. I've made the top 10 years ago a few times, and I've come almost one shot away from making the finals. And it's one thing that's been on my plate for a while, and I want to start bowling that tournament again. So yeah, I'll be updating everybody with that journey and see how that goes from there. But ultimately, yeah, I look forward to having more bowling reports for my own self, not just listening to Mike hack it up bowl 500 in the sport league every week.
No, I'm a 600 bowler now. You guys,
you're at 600 now. Yeah, I agree.
100 and better. So
I'm just
have that wrong.
I'm just messing with you, Mike.
No, well, I think what you said, it applies to a lot of bowlers in different ways, right? Like for you, that might be the level that you want to compete at, right? In a given year. But I think for a lot of bowlers, like there's different things they bowl throughout their year where they look at that one or two things on their calendar as their bigger events. Does that make sense? Like,
correct.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, for some people, it is the Masters or whatever it may be for your upper level amateur players, perhaps. But I think even at the lower levels, you have people who, they bowl their leagues all year. Like I'll use our own local county Masters as an example. I just talked about it last week. There's a lot of people that bowl leagues weekly, and then we have the county Masters, and it's on a sport condition, and you have 150 people sign up, right, and bowl this tournament, and it just goes for those people. That's their big event for the year. I'm sure a lot of them, Now, I would also say that as you progress down in levels, there's probably less preparation for those people that aren't bowling some of those higher level events. But I think everybody has that. I mean, even I have that. Like there's for me, it's less scheduled because it's more about, okay, when do I have the free time to hit an event here or there? Like for instance, this weekend was the New Jersey State Masters. Jason Kornog won. Shout to him. But I couldn't bowl because, just, my wife was away at a dance thing for my daughter, and I'm home with my other daughter doing some other stuff. But anyway, it's more about schedule for me. But I think everybody kind of has that, right? Where there's certain things that they bowl throughout the year where they look at, okay, this is a big event for me for the year, and I would like to be throwing it good when I go into this event or bowl well in this event.
Yeah, different people obviously have different goals. Everybody has different reasons for bowling. Some people just want to bowl a league once a week. Some people, like we talk about all the time, don't want to bowl a sport league. They want to bowl a house league once a week. It's their right to do that. Some people want to do this. Bowling bigger tournaments like the Masters, the TAT, USBC National Tournament, I think is another one that a lot of people.
That's it, right?
And in my opinion, if you want to compete and at least make money and have a good showing, maybe possibly make a cut, make a finals, whatever it is, there is a lot more preparation that goes into a tournament like the TAT and the Masters and those bigger tournaments. Preparation, time, and money, right? Those are the two things that you need to prepare for these tournaments. You need the time, you need the money, and you need to be able to, go and travel and spend the money to go bowl those tournaments. I mean, fortunately for me, when I go to Vegas, my expenses to go to Vegas are minimal compared to what yours would be, Mike, right? Like my mom lives there. I stay at my mom's house. I could drive there. I don't have to take a flight, right? I could drive all my equipment. I don't have to ship bowling balls. For somebody like you to go bowl a TAT is going to cost you shipping equipment, staying in a hotel, renting a car, right? Those are your three major expenses when you go travel bowl tournament. For me, I drive. I don't have to rent a car. I don't have to stay at a hotel. I have a lot of benefits to bowling the TAT. Maybe I'll get lucky and the Masters will also be in Vegas the year after, right? In 2027. In that case, then sign me up, right? It's an easy expense for me to go. I could even work from my mom's house, right? I don't have to take off time for work unless I'm bowling. So there's a lot of benefits for me going to Vegas. But if it is somewhere like Detroit, or is it which would be awesome if they brought it to Bolero, New Jersey, would be amazing to go and just see everybody back in the East Coast, to be able to do some fun stuff. But it would cost me a lot more money to do those kind of things. Ultimately, though, it is a lot of time and preparation, and everybody has different goals and everybody has different situations. So that's going to be my hopefully this year and the next couple of years, slowly make a kind of just a physical comeback and just take it easy, not try to get put too much wear and tear right now on my body, because man, my back still hurts like a mother, Mike. It's still crushing me right now.
No doubt. And I think two comments to wrap up that part of the conversation. Number one, I think that bowling a sport league in and of itself sort of builds in partly what you're talking about, where you're challenge, there's a challenge. There's a challenge. That's what you're saying. It's good to have some challenges along the way, right? And I think bowling in a sport league in and of itself presents some of those challenges, and it's a little bit of a different experience, right? Because especially if you're not bowling well and you're not happy with how you're bowling, I think what happens in a lot of instances is, people actually practice and people actually go and on a much smaller scale than what you're saying, but in the same way that you're describing with how people prepare for larger events, right? I also wanted to mention that I think you're right about the travel, and how it's kind of prohibitive depending on where the tournament is. I for some reason the TAT results are coming up on my social media a lot. They're being suggested to me, and I've noticed that there's not a lot of East Coast cities out there. You don't see a lot of East Coast. They list everybody's location. You don't see a lot of East Coast locations out there, and I just thought to myself, I understand why. It's a lot more of a commitment to go out there if that's the case.
I want to read a comment from PDING. What's up, man? Or INJ. Rob, if you enter the Masters in 2027, I'll pay your entry myself if you wear the Patch Pirate jersey and troll all week long, but the content better be worth it. Man, to be honest with you, I'd probably not want to focus on trolling and actually focus on my bowling. Rash knows a little bit of something about back injuries, and he's telling me that I'm getting old. I hear you, brother. I'm with you. And you bowl hundreds of games probably a week, and I'm barely bowling, and my back kills me. Anyway, enough about my old ass back and hopefully speculating me bowling again. Let's talk about you bowling, Mike. Did you get a chance to bowl league this week? How
I did. I bowled league Tuesday. Shout to, we had a sub who helped us out. So shout to that person for helping us out. Started off rough. I was after game one. I don't want to say you all inspire me sometimes, because after game one, I was thinking, man, I'm going to have to go on the podcast and talk sub 500. I'm going to have to talk. I'm going to be talking that sub 500 talk this week, back to the dredges. And we did not start out well at all. We shot 143 game one. Terrible. I mean, honestly, I didn't feel like I missed the pocket a lot, but every mistake I made was a split.
2 for a 10 or a big four.
7-10, big four. Yeah, it was a mess.
What that shows me sometimes, though, and this is just my personal opinion, and I like to hear what people in chat would say. If you're missing and every miss is a split, in my opinion, that shows that you are in the ball in the wrong ball. Me personally, I mean, that's not I'm not going out on a limb there saying that you bowl 140, right? But sometimes on really tougher patterns, like specifically US Open patterns, or even whatever it is, right? If you could find a reaction where if you miss, you don't split, and you're able to leave 8, 9s, or even 7s in a sense, makeable 7s, I feel like sometimes you want to, you're better off staying in something in that end, make your spares, and then maybe wait for a fill ball or some time to make the ball switch to something that where maybe you couldn't hit the pocket more or strike more. I mean, is that fair to say, Mike? Or would you think you were in the wrong ball?
I don't know. When that's going on with me, I always tend to feel like I'm close. But there's a small adjustment that I need to make to get the ball to hit the pocket, as opposed to hooking just a little bit early to go high.
Well, the reason why I say that is because in my mind, when you're leaving splits, I'm talking 2 for 8-10s, 2 8-10s, big fours. I tend to think your ball is probably reading the break point too late. And that is, and it's really creating a real lot of entry angle in the back of the lane, which causes a lot of those big splits. When in reality, you probably need something earlier, smoother, that can calm down the reaction where you're not leaving as many big splits.
Yeah, so not good. 143 the first game. It was ugly. I thought I was going to have to come on and do some sub 500 talk, but I didn't switch balls. I stuck with the same ball. And
why? What was your reasoning behind that? I would have switched out at 140.
Well, because number one, I've used this particular ball. I think this was our 7th week on this pattern.
What ball?
Or 8th week on this pattern. Stealth mode.
They stopped making those. Those are on closeout, right? Those stealth modes. I looked into looking to get one.
Go get one.
You're on closeout.
So I've thrown that ball all 21 games that we have bowled on this pattern. And
same pattern.
Yeah. Well, we repeat. We it switches every week, but every 3rd week you hit it, right? So we hit it 6 times in the first half, and then this was our 7th time. Well, no, once in the second half already. I think this was our 2nd time in the second half. So, yeah, I'm very confident with this ball. I bowled really good with it, right? And so I just made some slight adjustments, and then I bowled really good the last 2, 220, 244, and that 244. I'm pretty sure I went open, spare, open to start the game, and then through the last 8, I think. Or open.
So if you well, here's my question: if you had to do it all over again, would you have used something different the first game and then switch into a stealth mode the second game?
No, I would have. I just would have started further left.
Oh, so you were playing too far right to start?
That's what I felt like. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I felt. Now I will say, one of our regulars here, Purple Slammer in the chat, he was on my pair. I bowled against him this week. They beat up on us. That's the short of it. And he went 206 the first game, 268 the second game, then 140 the third game. So he was sort of like the reverse of what I was. And I'll also say that I noticed several people throwing asymmetrical balls, and they looked really good. Some big ASIMs. Big ASIMs looked real good.
Early energy.
And I'm not real big on those balls. I guess I should probably get on them and check some of them out, but I tend not to gravitate towards that type of reaction. So yeah, I don't really have options like that. So yeah, I stuck with the ball. I ended up with 607. I was third on the pair. High on the pair was 625. Next was 614. That was Purple Slammer, and then I was 607. So
I feel like if you're bowling a sport league, and I feel like you at least have to show up there with 6 balls. And I know some people might argue.
No, that's another thing. I'm lazy. I only bring in 3 balls. It's freezing out. I don't feel like going back out to the car. I don't feel like dragging in a second bag. I mean, like I said, it's my fault. A lot of it's my fault. But again, I had used that ball for every game on this pattern.
I know. So what I was trying to say is if you bring in at least 6 with you, I feel like you need to at least have a mix between asim and symmetrical balls with you. And obviously you want to try to mix covers and bring in solids and pearls and hybrids, whatever. When you only have 6 balls and one of them is a plastic and one of them is going to be a urethane, you're probably only at that point bringing 4 in. So you have to kind of really pick and choose. That's why to me, like versatile bowling balls are a better drill when you're looking to drill bowling balls. That stealth mode looks real versatile. Someone in the comments mentioned the Storm Concept. They just came out, which was like a low diff ball. Reminds me of I like to have a comparison video between that and IQ Tour and see because the IQ Tour is like one of the best storm balls in my opinion ever made, just because it's real versatile. You could do a lot of different things with it. So to me, those are the balls like on sport leagues that you would tend to like drill and bring.
Yeah, I agree with you on the IQ Tour, and I would say that the stealth mode reminds me very much of that ball. It's just very smooth and versatile, and I'm a big fan of it. All right, we got a quick question in the chat.
Yeah,
Eric Thortsenson. Okay,
what up, Eric?
Sorry about that. He says, as a new subscriber, just a question: as a professional candlepin bowler, oh my God, you want to come on? Now I have questions for you, Eric. Have you ever tried our game? Have you ever gone candlepin bowling, Rob?
I have. We did it when we were younger. There was a place in Connecticut that we used to go. Hard as hell. I wanted to hook every ball. I was literally standing left and trying to throw it right, like I was bowling some kind of house shot. And candlepin, I don't believe that is the strategy. I think you have to be pretty accurate, pretty hard, pretty straight. But haven't done it in a really long time, and I see a lot of reels. I know Nico in the chat. He's not in the chat today, I don't think, but he listens every week. He posts a lot of candlepin reels on his social media, and I get a chance to watch it. And knowing a lot of how it is supposed to be done, I would like another shot at it. So I don't know if you know any, Eric, any candlepin centers in the Phoenix, in the Valley area. But if you do, send that over, on if you can on our social media, or email us at sweeptherack@gmail.com, and I would be prone to go try it and report back.
Yeah, so I have done candlepin bowling only once on a college bowling trip. I think my freshman year. I forget what the event was that we went to, but it was somewhere up in the Connecticut area or something of that nature. And we just went candlepin bowling the one night, and it was different. It was hard. It was different. My question would be like, what's it like being a professional candlepin bowler?
Yeah,
Like,
I think Eric, reach out to us, email us, because I would really like to bring you on and talk to you about the differences between a professional and what you deal with, and see if you into real bowling. Like, do you really bowl, or is it candlepin your only is what you only do? So we have a ton of questions, and we got too much to go through today to talk to you about it.
We do, no doubt.
All right,
we keep it moving, and as we mentioned, PBA season is right around the corner.
Yep, we're starting at the Players Championship, Mike.
We are. We're rolling out a major week 1.
So,
but
real quick,
we're not. I don't think today will be specific discussion about individual tournaments. Right? We'll likely do that rolling into that week where that tournament is going to take place. Tonight will be more of an overall preview of this season, right? And what we expect from the PBA this season, and what our thoughts might be on the season overall. But it is PBA preview time. Football's ending today. There ain't many people in here because we're on at an odd time. We're doing this because we don't want to be on during the Super Bowl. Everybody's going to be watching the Super Bowl. Sunday nights are usually our night. We don't want the people to miss out tomorrow when they're at work or they're doing their thing, driving around. They want to listen. So, PBA preview.
Yeah.
PBA preview. And I said it already. I'm going to say it again. To me, the headline is a season of questions. Okay. A season of questions. Like, there's questions that we're going to discuss right now about what players are going to shine and what players are going to fall off. But there's also a lot of questions about this new product, right, that the PBA is going to be putting out with the CW network. There's also a lot of questions about the PBA in general, right? And what happens if this doesn't work out? Okay, I would say. So it's a lot of questions. Where do you want to go? What do you want to talk about first?
I'd like to talk about the storyline with the players, because we've talked a lot about the CW and like the announcers and all that stuff. So I think we've already had a good, we've already communicated a lot about like the questions that are going on with the shows we talked about the last 2 weeks. For me, the first question the biggest question, in my opinion, is, will anybody unseat EJ Tackett? Like, will anybody
But how can that be one of the main questions
because the kid has been dominating?
But that's what I'm saying. The answer is very likely no.
Well, that's the question, is like, can somebody, in your opinion, do it? Is there somebody that could do it? Like, is there one player that you
Is there someone? Yes. Are there multiple players I could name that I think could make a run at him? Yes. But if I'm betting, if you're telling me who's your money on to be player of the year at the end of the season, EJ Tackett is the only player that honestly that I would even consider putting money on. And I think that past recent results speak for themselves. You can call that recency bias if you want, but bowling has a history of this. Bowling has a history of this. Whether you go back to the Earl Anthony era, the Mark Roth era, the Walter Ray era, more recently the Belmo era, okay? I feel like we are in the EJ Tackett era here. We are. I mean, he's won it 3 times in a row. Now, does some of this come down to breaks and the shows and how one shot goes versus another? Yes. But as part of that, what I said about him, I think that he has become clutch enough to overcome a lot of that, right? And that's why I would feel that can't be one of the big questions going into the season, because the answer is very likely no. Who is it? Who is it then? If that's one of the big questions to you, then who's the person or 2 or 3 that you're going to say, these are the guys this year that are going to give him a run for their money? And instead of betting on Tackett, I'm going to bet on these guys.
Well, I mean, I have to have good odds to bet on these players, right? But to me, I think the one player that could maybe give EJ Tackett a run or two players. I think the two players that I would bet money on would be either Anthony Simonson or Kyle Troop. Okay. I think Kyle Troop and Anthony Simonson are still haven't reached their full potential yet, right? Like I think there's a lot of, if you were to ask them, they probably still have a lot of work to do, right? In my opinion. So to me, those two players would be the like players that I would feel like could potentially make a player of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with both of those names, and I would very, very likely agree with you on both those names. I would also add Belmo to that list because it just wouldn't surprise me. You know, I know. Wow, look at your face, man. That's amazing, isn't it? But I'm just saying, it wouldn't surprise me. The guy is one of the goats.
Yeah,
and, you know,
it wouldn't surprise me, but
you know, we know that the goats of this game, they go long. Okay. And he's not even at the tail end of his career, I don't think. Now he might be, because he might decide he's had enough of the travel and being away and this and that.
that was going to be mine.
But I'm saying, like, age wise, ability wise, he is nowhere near the end of his competitive career, right? Not when we've seen somebody like Pete win his 5th U.S. Open when he did, right? So I would add his name to the list. You know, I think to me that's about it. It's a very short list. You know, it's a very short list. Adam in the chat says Ryan Barnes, but Adam, and no disrespect to Ryan Barnes, no, none at all, but that would be a huge jump. That would be a huge jump, right? I mean,
Ryan Barnes isn't ready yet to take over an EJ Tackett like player of the year type of run. Now, 5 years from now, maybe less than that, 3 years, if the PBA is still around and we still have live bowling and a live tour and all that, I think Ryan Barnes is going to be a household name. I really believe it. I think we could talk about people like in Ryan Barnes category, but I like Ethan Fiore's game the best out of any of the young players. To me, Ethan Fiore is going to be the guy, and it wouldn't surprise me if Ethan Fiore gives a player of the year run in the next 5 years, right? But as we're talking this year, current year, to take over an EJ Tackett, a Simo, or even a Belmo or a Kyle Troop, you could put a couple of other names in there too. But to me, I don't think they're there yet.
Go ahead.
I was going to also talk about Tim Foy. I think Tim Foy could make some waves too this year. I like to see him get his title this year, Mike. We're big Tim Foy fans, right? Like, we like everything about Tim Foy, his game, we always call him a dog, competitiveness, just how he competes. And for me, that's the player that I think wins his first title this year, Mike.
Okay. You're bouncing. You're bouncing all
Sorry,
over.
I'm all over the place.
I know. It's okay.
Sorry.
I want to go back to the questions here.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to go back to the questions here, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head with that first question in terms of, is there somebody that can unseed EJ Tackett, right? It's on everybody's mind. I think the answer is likely no, but I do think that as you start the season, that's kind of what you're watching for, right? I also think that EJ Tackett, he's come on at certain parts of the season the last few years, right? Like he's sort of been up and down at times, and then come on and had a very dominant run for a period of time in the last couple seasons. So I think that's kind of what you have to watch for with him, right? It's easy in the first event or two to say, "Oh, he's off to a bad start. Oh, look, he's not having the year he had previously." And then 3 weeks later, he's made the next 3 shows and won 2 titles.
Well, I mean, he's dominated the World Series of Bowling the last 2 years.
Right.
I'd have to look at the correction, the last 3 years. Okay, let me throw some numbers here at you, Mike. He's won 2023 Bolero Wabatusa Cheetah. He won Wabatusa the World Championship in 2023. In 2024, he won the Shark Championship at Thunder Bowl. Then he won the World Championship at Thunder Bowl. 4 titles there. Then in 2025, he won the Shark Championship, and he also won the World Championship. So he's won 6 titles and 3 majors in the last 3 World Series of Bowlings, Mike.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like that storyline to me is a storyline that you have to wait until deep in the season to evaluate, because you never know when he's going to come on and make a run like that and go on a run like that. Whether it's the World Series of Bowling or outside the World Series of Bowling, right?
Yeah, what's up, Tim? Yo, we were just talking about Tim. It just magically pops up in the chat. It's like you say his name and he magically pops up.
No, well, listen, we're gonna talk about a lot of people tonight. There's gonna be a lot of names that are mentioned here tonight. I mean, part of what we want to do, and I don't, in a minute, if you want to jump into this and get it ready, Rob, we were going to go through the top 50 from last year.
Yeah, I'm ready. I have it.
We were going to, throw out some names and kind of give our opinion of whether we expect that person to sort of rise up or perhaps drop down, in that top 50. But with a couple things before we get there. A couple things. Should we talk rookies for a minute? And I also want to talk about this too. Oh, there's so much to talk about. Like, do you feel like they've sort of abandoned the exempt thing already?
What do you mean?
Like, how like last year there was a tour trials, right? There was a tour trials last year, and the people who made tour trials, they were now part of the weekly tour, right? And I believe that entries were paid for, okay, as part of that, right? And that was big. And I'll be honest, Rob, like there was no tour trials that I'm aware of, right? And I haven't read anything or heard anything about that still being something that they're doing. And I went on the schedule and I checked, and it looks like a lot of the events are PTQ events.
Correct.
Okay. So I guess that's not the direction they're going in. And I'm assuming that I'm correct that a lot of these young guys, if they want to get in the regular field, when we say rookies,
go do PTQ.
Are going to be guys who are bowling PTQs.
Yeah, so I feel like the Rookie of the Year award isn't what it used to be. I just don't feel that way. And I don't have any rhyme or reason for it. I'd say that, yeah, there is a reason that, yeah, these guys have to go through a ridiculous, impossible 8 games a week to make it on tour. You could literally you're bowling for your career 8 games in an 8 game. You have one bad game, you're all of a sudden you're done and you have to bowl next week. You have to wait a week.
Right.
Done for the week. You're not giving it's really hard for rookies to make it on tour in a sense, right? You're not making it easy for kids to get into the tour or get qualified to bowl on tour. That's the one thing that is a downfall and a really big challenge that the PBA should try to solve for, because obviously you want as many young kids coming out of college. You want as many young kids coming out as the regionals to want to bowl on tour. And right now, the way they do with PTQs isn't very sustainable for them to do it. I mean, look at like guys like and I'd have to look at guys who were on tour, but look at someone like Cortez. I know Cortez because he lives in my area. Cortez was Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, and I don't believe he's even going to be on tour this week or this year, because obviously it's just not sustainable to bowl 8 games a week. And I know there's guys in Tim, you were going through PTQs, right? How hard is that? I mean,
No, I don't. I mean, at one time he may have.
I'm
But
pretty sure he
one
was.
of the guys who became exempt.
But I'm pretty sure he was going through PTQs at one point, like every
Right.
week. I could be wrong on that.
But yeah, so okay. So I get with what you're saying, you know, if they're so perhaps it is sort of still the exempt tour, but it didn't reset. I guess it's more based on the points, right?
It is still exempt. Yep.
Yeah. So here are the rookies. Okay.
You got a list?
Right. Well, the PBA sent something out on their social media not too long ago.
Oh, did they?
About who the rookies are. And that, I'll be honest, that's why it got me confused, because I thought to myself, like, well, wait a second. How is there an actual rookie class if these guys whose names I'm going to read are not guaranteed to be in the field week to week? Right. And I hate that, to be honest with you. I think that's terrible. Like, if anything, it's a good storyline that an unknown, a rookie out of college, oh, here's the school he went to, oh, just got his degree in this, now he's out on the PBA tour. Like that, I agree with you, Rob. Like, that's something that they should want to promote. That's something that they should want out there, right? So to make it a lot harder, I'm not saying that maybe you shouldn't make it a little bit harder, but to make it that much harder for these guys to bowl week after week after week is a lot. And when they sent this out, that's why I had the reaction I did. And I was thinking about that. All right, so these are the people they sent out. And if I leave anybody off here, I'm sorry. I'm only going by the PBA social media. Social media here. Okay. Spencer Robarge. Okay, 2026 rookie.
Starting out pretty strong.
CJ Petrin. Okay. Brandon Bonta. And then Austin Grammer, Tyrell Ingalls, Julian Salinas, and Ryan Spear.
I mean, the two names that I know on that list, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know everybody on that list. I mean, it's obviously Spencer Robarge and Brandon Bonta are the two names that I know. And I think Riley Spear is another one that I've heard, right? I don't know who the other names are.
I know Julian Salinas, not only because he's been bowling a little bit in my area as of late, but he also won, I think, the U.S. Amateur Championship just a few weeks back. So yeah, I recognize that name. And then Petrin is a last name that I know I've heard before in the bowling community. But I'm not sure I know that particular Petrin. And yeah, Spencer Robarge, I would say, is a name that most people know, right? Okay.
Tim Foy, top 3 from college point list, have priority right after the top 75 in points.
Okay. All right, makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, for me, the favorite to win Rookie of the Year obviously would be Spencer Robarge. I mean, you can't convince me anybody else. Like, the guys already he has experience making shows. I mean, he's, to me, the most ready tour player probably out of the names that you listed.
And you would take him even considering
left.
How rough the left can be sometimes?
Yeah, because I feel like his game is just he's got a different style of game than a lot of other lefties. He's not your traditional lefty. He's very unique in his style, unique in his role. He's very, very just different. And I feel like I don't think a lot of I think he'll be one of those type of lefties that will make it when a lot of lefties don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Out of that, I mean, honestly, I'm not super familiar with everybody in that group, etc. I hear your point on Spencer Robarge. I mean, I think that, he's somebody who has been a great bowler since he was a little kid, from what I understand.
Pedigree is there.
Yeah, I've heard his name for quite a while. So to pick someone different, just to make a different argument, I would say Julian Salinas. I've seen him throw it. He's a righty two-hander. Throws it very good. I know this sounds this is high praise, a little crazy. He's probably the two-hander that I've seen who reminds me the most of Belmo in the way that he throws it. And I say that because he's very balanced, he's very upright, and he's very good at getting the ball out on the lane and lofting it and throwing it at a slow speed. I feel like a lot of two-handers, their speed is very high. And I often, when I watch, feel like that's a detriment to them.
It is.
And I feel like the best two-handers are the ones that can really slow it down to a point where their angles are just ridiculous. And yeah, I believe this kid can do that. And again, just to make another argument, no shade intended at any of the other guys there.
Okay.
We're not real familiar with that bunch, but good luck to those guys.
Yeah.
Good luck to those guys, and it's going to be a grind. And I brought this up a while back, Rob, that it's been interesting to me over the last 5, 6 years, 7 years maybe, that they're the old, quote unquote, old guard, and I don't mean old in age, I just mean old guard in the sense that they've been in the position they're in for a while, right? In bowling, in professional bowling, has really not changed. It's been really hard for a young player, any young player that you name, to break through and become one of those all the time, every week threats, Hall of Fame level, talent or winning percentage, so to speak. And I think one of the questions that I have going into the year is, will anybody that we've seen who's been knocking on the door in that regard, will anybody be able to break through? Right. And if this applies to anyone, I think it applies most this year, going into this year. And we're not talking rookies anymore here, obviously. We're talking younger players, right? Less experienced players. I think the person it applies the most to is Ethan Fury.
I mean, I'm a big Ethan Fury, like his game just in general.
Right? Really nice. But and he won last year, yes.
He did.
Won a major, right? Won a major, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Huge win, huge accomplishment, right?
Yep.
What I'm looking for is, does he build on that? Right? Or is there any other, and in the chat, if you have somebody in mind, throw it out there. But is there any other young player that we've seen over the last couple of years? Like another name that comes to mind would be Matt Russo, right? That's somebody we saw win a title, and where's he going to go, right? What direction is that going to go? Somebody like a Ryan Barnes, I would put in that category as well, right? Like, had a really good year last year, super impressive, right? Great pedigree, has all that. Which way is that going to go? Is he going to break through? Is he going to take the next step and break through? I would put Tim Foy in this category, right? Great. Yes, Fef beat me to it. I didn't even say it. I would put Tim Foy in this category. He was in the chat earlier. Great season last year. Amazing season, especially for his, first quote unquote full year on tour. Not to call it a rookie season, but first full year on tour. Is he going to be able to make that next step, take that next step? You understand what I'm saying? There's so many guys I can put in that basket, and I can even go further back a couple years if you want, like a Darren Tang, okay, a Chris Vi, a Chris Vi. Like, are these guys, who out of this group, who that's in that basket, 1, 2, 3 guys even, is gonna make that jump?
Yeah, I'd also put Cameron Crowe in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think at this point, Ryan Barnes and Foy probably, to me, are the two names that I think have the are knocking on that door, right? Nico says you could throw Packy in the mix
No doubt.
for sure.
Kevin Williams. Throw him in that basket.
Would you throw AJ Johnson in that mix?
Yeah, I would put him in that. Yeah, absolutely.
I'd put AJ Johnson there
Now,
too.
Let me say this. And AJ Johnson is a dog. Okay, AJ Johnson is a dog and friend of the podcast, so don't get it twisted, right? But there is a fine line, though, Rob. Right? There is a fine line of like the guys who have already had their shot, and it's probably past them at this point, and the guys who no, I'm not saying that's what I'm saying. He's not in that category, but it is a fine line, and I think out of some of the names we mentioned, AJ Johnson is closer to that line than most of the names we mentioned. Okay. Like he's had some opportunities. He's had some shots. He's been out there a minute now. He's got it. He's, under some pressure, I would say almost to get it done, to make a jump. Okay. So yeah, but go ahead. Who else? Who do you say Foy, Barnes? I say Fiore.
To me, those are the three names. If I'm going to pick any of those guys out of those, I'm picking Foy just because of the, I would say him being older, right? Helps, right? It's more maturity. He's, he had, a full time, he was a prison guard. I mean, we talked all about Foy, right? So this guy, like he's hungry, right? And I feel like he's gonna make. I really believe he's gonna make that jump this year. I mean, he finished top 5 in points. So isn't it safe to say he already made that jump, Mike? Being a top 5, he just never won. He didn't win a title.
No, because what I'm saying is it's not just 1 year.
Okay.
I'm talking a player who's going to go from that group to your Troop, Simo,
Tackett, Belmo,
O'Neal, Joe, like guys you are not surprised
when they make a show.
When they win, it's like, oh, well, they're not surprised by that.
I think there's a few names we have to see this year, and those are the 3 top names: Barnes, Fiore, Foy. Right? I think we have to start seeing them making multiple shows. Because look, like Tackett didn't really start winning until, would say, the last 3 years, right? He was making shows consistently, and then it just takes some time making shows to get relaxed on the shows, and then to start learning how to win on the shows.
Dio Bernard, another name I would put in.
Chris Jones.
Some of these guys understand where I'm coming from here. Some of these guys are guys that already have titles.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are already guys that have titles, so much respect to them.
What about Marshall Kent?
But
Marshall Kent has been knocking, and we need to see him have some better performances on the shows. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, look, he won, right? Like he won last year, I believe. When did he win, Mike? He won. Oh, he didn't win. 2024 was the last time that Marshall's won a title, I believe. So yeah, he didn't win last year, but he won the year, and he still 14 points last year. So I mean, I'd consider that a decent year, right? I mean, there's so many names we could just start going through, right?
Okay. Well, let's do it, right? We talked about the top dogs, yes.
Yeah.
We talked about the new pups. Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about some of the guys who are looking to make a jump. All right. So let's take a look at the broad scope here. Let's take a look at the top 50 from last year. Okay. And let's stop whenever we want and kind of give some thoughts on what we expect to see. I would say let's go 5 at a time.
Okay.
Let's go 5 at a time here. So top 5 points last year. Go ahead.
Tackett, Andrew Anderson, Belmo, Graham Fa, and Tim Foy. Andrew Anderson's an interesting one there. because I feel like out of all the people that had a breakout year in a way was Andrew Anderson. He did win one title, and then he finished second in points. So I feel like he was counted out for a while, right? And yeah, what an amazing year. I mean,
Well, he's a former player of the year, though.
he is, but we counted him out though because of all the injuries and everything that he dealt with.
I agree. And again, to me, that's why I said there's almost those three baskets, right? There's the basket of the guys who are already at that level where they're consistent, right? And the Ring and 10 just use that word. They're consistent. You're never surprised when they make a show or win. Then you have that next group of guys who are they're closer to that line of if they don't make that jump soon, then it's probably evident they're never going to make it. And then you have those guys who still have a lot of time, but you're watching them to see if they're ready to make that jump or if they're progressing toward that, right? And I would put Andrew Anderson in that second basket, right? I would put him in that basket of the A.J. Johnsons, where, okay, he's had some good seasons. He's shown some really good ability to compete. He's won at this level, okay? But does he make that jump and make it consistent? Because that's really inconsistency has been his ticket, right? Like he won the player of the year and then he kind of fell off for a while. Now he's back and he's throwing it good. And so is the consistency there next year?
Right? Jimmy Ring and 10 is asking Andrew won 2 titles. I only have him winning the Mike Albee. Albee.
Didn't he also win the tour finals?
Was that one of the last?
Yeah, I think didn't he win the tour finals last year? I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I think my numbers cut out there, but there's a possibility. Yeah. Doubles. No, Belmo and O'Neill won the doubles last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be curious. I'll look it up, but I could be wrong on that. So I mean, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me though. I don't think I have the tour finals. So.
Okay, give me that top 5 again.
EJ,
he ain't going anywhere.
Andrew Anderson.
Okay, consistency is the question. Yes or no? Will he be in the top 5 again next year?
No.
I'm going to say no as well.
Sorry, AA. I can see top 10.
Listen, I'm just calling it like I see it. Like you have to prove that to me. You 1 year doesn't do it. This a lot of this is about what have you done for me lately, right?
Belmo.
Belmo. Will he be in the top 5 next year?
Yes.
I believe that he still will be too.
I think he'll be knocking on 5.
Yeah, you think he's teetering? So you think he drops? He won't be top 3.
I mean, it's just time is not on his side. Traveling, it's just kind of how it goes in sports in a way, right? I mean, it's just
this guy is one of the GOATs.
He is.
I see it. I won't believe it. So I'll give him that.
But I mean, I don't know. I kind of just we've seen a decline in the last couple of years, right? Like it's been a slow decline, and I think it's just kind of how it goes. Like he was at the top for so long and just dominated for so long, and then I think a lot of it caught up to him. Just hit the way he goes back and forth, and then got involved with a lot of other things, and I kind of feel like just how it goes in the sport. Graham Fa, Mike. And then Tim Foy, top 5.
Well, Tim Foy we talked about, right?
Yeah.
That's a guy who came on, really proved himself last year. Needs to do it again to be in that different basket, be in that different category. I like his chances. I do. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Foy has a better year this year than he did last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Foy wins a title this year, which makes it a better year. Now, will he be in the top 5? I don't know. I mean, he could win a title and really break through in that way, but be out of the top 5, and I still might look at that as a successful season for him, right? Because winning is a big part of getting over that hump. So the top 5 for me in terms of him is less important. I'd have to see his season as a whole. Graham Fa, great season last season, right? I think I'm always skeptical with the lefties, Rob.
I know you are.
I'm just always skeptical with the lefties. There's no way I can believe in this environment with the question of the urethane balls and the question of the lane patterns, and that's another thing that perhaps if we want to veer off here and talk about that for a second, the PBA is going to be doing their lanes differently this year, right? There is not going to be one dedicated lane person, and basically all information about the lane patterns is going to be run through the players committee, right? As opposed to it being run through one person from the PBA. And there's going to be a lot of changes to the way they're doing the lanes and the process for that.
So
with all those factors, it's hard for me to say that a lefty is going to repeat that type of season.
Would you say, and I'm going to ask this question because I have a follow-up question to you. Would you say that lefties at this moment in the game have an advantage bowling on the shorter 37 and less foot patterns with all the urethane and all that? Because Fa won his title on Cheetah last year.
That's a hard question. That's a hard question.
Because
I'm going to answer.
I kind of think they do.
I'm still going to say yes, but I think that margin has shortened over the last couple years, right? Because you really don't have the purple hammer, okay, which was the monster, okay, and I think things have evened out a little bit and slowed down a little bit. I think, especially judging by last year. This time last year, we were talking a lot about urethane, right? And the impact that the urethane rule changes were going to have on the tour. And I think they did have an impact. I don't think it was as much a factor as it had been in the previous years. And I think I continue to see that being the trend. And again, that's why it makes it tough for me to ride the bandwagon of a lefty.
So the reason why I'm asking this is because if anybody did any kind of research and looked to see what the patterns they're bowling on for the first half of this tour season, the shortest pattern, and I'm going to read the patterns in the lengths, okay? This Players Championship is a dual pattern. Viper, Badger. Badger's 50 feet, okay? So you have 150 feet, 38 foot. Dick Weber, 45 feet. U.S. Open pattern, we all know what that is. Carmen Salvino, 43. Mike Albee, 39. The Masters pattern, right? You don't know what that's going to look like. Dragon, 45. Bear, 41. Dual pattern, 43, 38. And then Don Johnson, 40. They don't bowl on any shorter than a Viper on the left lane. They don't bowl on Cheetah for the first half. They didn't put any patterns except the World Series. There'll be a Cheetah, right? And then there'll be some that end. But the first half seems to be pretty long patterns, Mike, that they're putting out. Now, don't get me wrong. Pattern doesn't tell you all about the bowling center, right? Because we all know they could put out a 45 foot in a lefty dominated center with the way the lanes are, and lefties can have an advantage. You don't know. A lot of these bowling alleys they're bowling in, Mike, too, compared to what I've looked at in previous years. A lot of these are new centers that have never been bowled on. And I looked and tried to look and see, like, there was only a few centers that they're bowling on, like Woodland and then Thunder Bowl, obviously Bayside and then Riviera for the TOC. But a lot of the centers they're bowling on, Steel City Brews is another one. But a lot of the other ones are new centers that I can't see like any history in the last like 3 or 4 years that have been bowled on. So we don't know. And I'm talking even for betting purposes. We don't know what some of these centers are going to be looking like prior to them bowling on it. There's no history. And I like to look at history, for certain tournaments that are going to be pretty lefty friendly tournaments. So it's pretty up in the air right now, in my opinion, if a center is going to be lefty friendly or not.
Yeah, no, that's why I make that point. Like it's just hard for me to say, oh, and again, no disrespect to Graham Fowler, great season last year, but like it's hard for me to say that he's going to have the type of season he did last year or better and be back in that top five with all those variables, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, let's move to the next five.
yeah. Vi, Svensson, Fiore, Simo, Butters.
Okay, thoughts there?
I
I expect Simonson to be much higher.
Yeah, I think Simo just didn't have a good year last year. And a good year last year to him,
Injuries.
not a good year, is ninth in points.
Yeah,
You know, I expect Simo to be in the top 5 in points this year.
no question.
I do. Fiore, I think is kind of unknown at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
see, that's why I said like it's a question, right? It's a consistency question. It's the read me that group again.
Vi, Svensson, Fiore, Simonson, Butters.
Okay. Vi, same thing. Consistency question. Right?
Svensson's consistency question.
Well,
Svensson's consistent.
To me, he goes into that lefty question, right? Of like, I think he consistently wins when they have it on the left, but how many are they going to have it on the left where he's going to be in the running to win?
Yeah,
right?
If it is there, then he'll be there.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, if you tell me before the week starts, oh, this is going to be a pattern where the lefties can use urethane and strike, no question I'm taking my money and betting on him. No question about that. But how many times are you going to get that, right? How many times are you going to do that? So, okay. Butters, I would put him in that same conversation.
I would say let's just talk in regards to lefties. We don't even.
Yeah, it's all right. It's a tough existence being a lefty on the PBA tour. You never know when your next opportunity is going to come, right?
Yeah.
And when you get one of those opportunities, you better make the most of it. You better really take advantage of it because there's only one guy that's going to win, right? And if it's going to be a lefty this week, you better put yourself in the best position to make sure that it's you.
Okay, next 5. Ryan Barnes, Bill O'Neill, Kyle Troop, Marshall Kent, Santu Tantavanian.
Pretty impressed that he's high up because he was injured for part of the year last year too.
Oh, Santu?
Yeah.
Santu still has to show me more consistency, I think. He's another one that we need to see consistency from. But
he was like, it looked at it for a minute like he was gonna, it was Ethan Fiore like, right? It looked like, oh my God, this kid is the next great two-hander here, right? And then an injury, doesn't bowl so well, has a subpar season for compared to the expectations that people had for him going in, right? So I would agree.
I think Kyle Troop 13. I don't expect him to be 13 this year. We already talked to him. I expect him to be a top 5 this year. I do. I have really high expectations for Kyle Troop. Let's talk about our boy because he started out. Pretty like had a good year, right? Like when it comes to like starting out, right? And then he kind of fell a little bit. Bill's game is kind of timeless, I think. I think Bill's going to find a way, and obviously a little biased, right? But Bill's going to find a way to make shows, put himself in the chance of winning. I feel like he hasn't had the greatest success on TV, and it seems like when he makes shows, he hasn't had the best performances on the shows in the past couple of years, I think. But he's a guy like I wouldn't surprise me to like sneak in for like a title. Now, do I expect him to have a player of the year type run that he almost did the year prior? I don't, right? But you never know with Bill, right? Like it's just kind of like he gets older. He's my age, right? We're 44, gonna be 45 this year. And I still feel like he's gonna have that. He has that game that will translate even into like his 50s, like Norm Duke did in a sense, right? Where you just find a way, you're versatile, You just have your experience, and your game is just not flashy. It's consistent, it's solid, and you're able to make spares and find yourself on the shows. And I feel like Norm Duke was the best at that.
I mean, just 2 years ago, just 2 seasons ago, Bill was in the hunt for Player of the Year, I felt like.
So the World Series, when he got crushed in Detroit.
And again, we already mentioned his name as somebody that you're never surprised to see make a show or even win, right? Or be in the hunt to win.
There's a group of veterans that are like that. You could put all the same group. You could put Rash, Bill, Tommy, right? And you could just go down the list of Belmo. Like you go down that group that was in that list, right? That you just never. Dom Barrett, right, is another one. They find ways to just get into shows, and you're like, man, not surprising.
The Hall of Famers. I mean, it's really it's, and I know, but I mean, I would say it's the Hall of Famers. Like even a guy, even a player like Simo, right? He's Hall of Fame, like no question, right? And you're never surprised to see him there. I would put Kyle Troop in that same category, right? You're never really surprised to see him in the hunt and see him there. And it's been that way for a few years now, right? And that consistency is there. So yeah, it's I think in the cases of those guys, you might see them fluctuate a little bit year to year. They're a little bit up, they're a little bit down, they're a little bit up, they're a little bit down. But until they have had, several years where they're on the downswing, right? I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right? I could put Chris Barnes in that too. I wouldn't surprise me to see Chris Barnes.
Certainly. And can I say fairly? And again, no disrespect to Barnes, one of the GOATs, right? But I think as you get closer to that PBA 50 line, right, that's
where your focus is.
Yeah, that the focus changes. The focus switches. Like I'm certainly, and maybe he's talked about this on his own podcast, but if I'm Barnes, I'm out there to more support Ryan in what he's doing than I am for me. And
it changes. Your priorities change as you get to that, right?
Yeah, and if I can get a check or if I make a run, great. But if I don't, I can help him, kind of support him in what he's doing, right? And I think anybody would appreciate that, right? And anybody would see where he's coming from on that.
Henry brought up Stu.
To me, Barnes is a guy, and again, no, I'm not throwing any shade here. But to me, he has sort of crossed over that line.
I agree.
I'm just saying this. I would be, and I'm not saying this is a hot take either, but I'd be surprised kind of to see him make a show or make a run at this point. Depending on the format. If you tell me it's a format, shorter format, favors match play, then yes, okay, maybe I'd be less surprised at that. But I think again, the focus is different, right? Other guys are moving towards that, right? You said, let's talk about Bill. I feel like Bill's moving towards that. He's not there yet, certainly.
Still got a little bit.
But again, it's a gradual process, right? It's a gradual process on those things. All right, go ahead.
16 to 20. I feel like we're not going to get through. I feel like we're going to stop at probably 30 because the last 20 we're not even going to want to talk about. Darren Tang, Dom Barrett, Rasmus Edval, AJ Johnson, Pacquiao Hanrahan. We've talked about most of these people. Dom Barrett, we could put into that. We've talked about Darren Tang.
Yeah, the international guys like Rasmus. I mean, I'd like to see. I don't know, see bowling full time on tour or not. I don't know. See, they don't really promote these things. They don't even tell you like who's going to be out there and who's bowling full time and who's not. I mean, to me, this is stuff that I would like to hear about in the off season as we get closer to the tour gearing up. And I wish there was more information out there about it. But a guy like that, international player who came over for the World Series, right? bowled the World Series, won a title at the World Series, if I remember correctly, as there were a couple international players who did that. Bowled a couple other events, I believe, while they were over here, as other guys did. Smart of them to do that, set up the schedule that way. But are we going to see him back bowling a full year? I don't know. I mean, it would surprise me. But yeah, who knows? Maybe he is planning on bowling a full season. But go ahead. Who else was in that 5? Give me that 5 again.
Darren Tang, Don Barrett, Rasmus, AJ Johnson, Packer Hanahan. We've talked about everybody already, I think.
Yeah, no, we have. We mentioned a lot of those guys, right?
Let's go to the next.
Those names have been mentioned.
Because there's a few we haven't mentioned in the next 5. Stu Williams, Matt Russo, Kevin McCune, Sean Maldonado, and Chris Prather. So I think there's a little bit of talking here. I want to talk about
Dude, how did we forget that name? How did we forget his name when I was talking about, young guys who have had some success, but he won a major. He won $100,000 major, right? And he had a very quiet year last year. Right?
He did.
Yeah. And now, what numbers are we at now, Rob?
21 to 25.
Okay, all right. So a little early to say that, perhaps, but I was going to say, you get that. Let me ask it as a question: at what point to you, Rob, do you get at on this list where you think, all right, if I'm at that point of the list, I probably have to consider whether this is going to turn into something really worthwhile for me. I understand it depends on age too. Right? You're not going to look at a guy like Sean Maldonado, who's been out there for numerous years, or Stu Williams, who's been out there for numerous years, the same way that you're going to look at a Packy Hanrahan, who has only been out there for a few years, right? But with that said, where do you fall in that? I mean, is this that category?
You'd have to look at the financial earnings. There's a lot, I think, that goes into it, and I think you don't know. Each player could have different situations. I mean, you could have guys like, and I'm just using Darren Tang as an example, who's 16, who's got a YouTube channel, right? And he makes all that money doing a YouTube channel. So if going on tour for him helps put content, I would imagine, for his YouTube channel. I'd imagine you got other guys too. I don't know, like maybe that have money or have doing different things. And I think if they're in the situations where they could stay on tour because financially they got other things going on, or they got family, wives that are helping them.
I understand all that. I'm just saying,
like, performance-wise,
if you erase a lot of that, right, and you're just looking at it from an earnings-based perspective, right, and because Rob, let's be honest, it ain't easy mentally.
Oh no,
it ain't easy mentally. We know this, bro. Like, it's not easy mentally to go out there week after week after week after week and not bowl that well and not have that much success and just continue to do it and continue to do it and continue to do it. It can actually be maddening at a certain point, I feel like. But and I'm going to say this too. As far as the bowling content goes, I'm here for that kind of content. I'm not going to lie. Like, there's times where, to me, some of these vloggers that are out there on tour and bowling different events, it gets pretty dark.
Yeah,
it gets pretty dark because they're not bowling well, and I actually enjoy it. I do. I don't enjoy it because they're not doing well. I just enjoy it because it's entertaining content to me to see somebody, really, really frustrated in that manner.
So I'm going to use a name from the next 5 that I think you saw this front row and center on Facebook. Was Ronnie Russell.
Yeah.
So Ronnie Russell was in 2019. Ronnie Russell was going back and forth in this offseason if he wanted to stay on tour or not. And he was very clear and transparent about it on his Facebook. And I think he decided to give it one more year and to put everything he has into it, dedicate his time and his, everything
make changes to his game.
Make changes to his game. And I think if you don't see Ronnie make a jump this year, you're going to see this be his last year. I really believe that, because you talked about being maddening. I think Ronnie is a perfect example of somebody who has been on tour for forever, and he hasn't really made that jump that he expected to. And he is it gets maddening on them. mentally, physically. I mean, look back when we were younger.
To my point before, what do you think? He's the only guy that feels that way?
No.
No. I'm sure a lot of the guys around his number in the overall standings feel that way.
I'd imagine guys like Chris Prather. We all know Chris Prather is really hard on himself. We've had him on. We understand how hard he is on himself. He almost quit a couple years before then he won, remember, and then he stayed on. So I think Chris Prather's another one. I think Stu has got to be going back and forth considering it, because Stu hasn't really done anything in a really long time on tour. I mean, call spade a spade. I don't remember the last time his title was, but maybe looking at 17, 18, maybe the last time he's won. So like, yeah, like I would imagine like a lot of these people, they have families, they have kids, they got to support, or they have to like at least help support, right? So
I honestly, I didn't even really mean that in a when I said worthwhile,
yeah,
I didn't really mean it in a financial sense.
Just
What I meant was, worthwhile in terms of going through the process of what you have to do to
win.
go out there and compete. Like,
right.
You got to get on a plane. You got to travel from, week after week after week. You're eating in restaurants. You're staying in hotels. You're not having a lot of success. You're struggling and struggling and struggling and struggling. You're trying to figure it out. You're practicing. It's a grind. That's what I meant. Like, where do I think we get into that territory here, where sometimes these guys have to be questioning whether all of that effort is worthwhile, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead, give another 5. Where are we at? Give that 5 again with Ronnie Russell in it.
Stu Williams, Matt Russo, Kevin McCune, Sean Maldonado, Chris Prather.
Wow, it's almost hard for me to believe that Prather's that far down on that list.
Yeah, I know. I'd expect him to make a jump. I love his game so much. I just feel like he's so mentally hard on himself.
He's so versatile too. Like
he is. I think it's his problems are here in his mental game. I believe that. I believe if you start seeing him succeed when he starts getting that confidence in himself that he could be there. I feel like when he starts bowling bad, he gets really hard on himself, and then his performance shows it. That's just my opinion of Chris. Love his physical game. I would love to be able to throw the ball that good. Like I think a lot of people would, But and then obviously we talked about all those guys. Maldonado's another one who, has been out there for a while. Completely different than Prather, right? Physically, I'm talking. Doesn't have the greatest physical game, but manages to find ways on the shows. It's, you see him pop in every once in a while on a show, sometimes even major shows, but he just can't break that barrier of consistency, winning big tournaments, right? He's just one of those guys that you see him pop in every once in a while, right? Fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the next 5, and then I think we could start kind of wrapping this up, because then it gets a little bit into the real, I don't want to call it dumpster diving, but
Rob is the one throwing shade around here, just to be clear.
So now we're talking some veterans, right? Tommy Jones, Sean Rash, Frankie Lavoie, Ronnie Russell, Nathan Bohr. And I feel like Nathan Bohr gets a pass because that was his first year full time, right? Even though he's been out, it seems like, for a while. But I feel like he's almost, you kind of put him in the old rookie type conversations, right? Where he finally got his exemption. He was out there first time full time this last year. So I think Rash has a better year this year.
Injuries.
He had injuries. I feel like
healthy Sean Rash. I agree with you 100%.
But I feel like health-wise, I feel like I haven't heard anything otherwise that he's doing a lot better now. I see him practicing a lot on his Facebook. He puts a lot of content out. I don't feel I've seen any updates of him having to go get any procedures done. I feel like a healthy Sean Rash, I feel like is a top 10, top 15 type player at this point, right? He's like Bill in a sense, right? Where if he's physically sound, he knows veteran type moves, puts some spare shooting, puts himself there when he can. I don't know. What do you think? Who on that top list? Tommy's the same way. I don't want to keep repeating myself on the veterans. I feel like the same.
Well, he's got to be close to the PBA
50.
line too.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know.
I mean, it almost makes me sad to say that, but
I know.
Definitely. Out of all the names we mentioned, he's the guy who's probably, I mean, Barnes obviously is already over there, but he's got to be the next guy who's the closest there.
Yeah, for sure. And then I think Frankie's another one where we got to put him in that like Ronnie Russell, Chris Prather type, Stu Williams.
I don't know. He that's an interesting one to me because at one point he was in that category of guys that you were never surprised that they made the show or won. I mean, guy has 2 US Opens, right? So yeah, I think that the changes in the game have not benefited him
100%.
very much at all.
100%, yes.
I think that like every year it probably he comes in with adjustments and new things he's going to do to try and combat the playing environment he's in, and he thinks it's going to work, but it's impossible to replicate that environment in your own practices and your own training. And then you come out and what you had planned doesn't work, and you're kind of, left with not such a great season, right?
Frankie is a 90s style player bowling in a 2026 generation, and his game is very geared towards the 90s and early 2000s. And if he was bowling on that end, I'd say even the 80s and 90s, I would see he'd have a lot of titles, I believe. Just consistent as hell, great spare shooting, smart player.
Yeah. I would say a player who lets the ball do the work.
Yeah, and unfortunately nowadays in this tour, that's you need to do more than that. You need to put
they're still letting the ball do the work, but they're putting more work on the ball. Is what's going on out there.
And they end up being missiles. 500 rev rates of these high performance balls and these urethanes. Is
Thomas, Henry in the chat is mentioning Thomas Larson. It's funny. I'd say the same thing about him. If he would have bowled in the 90s, my man would have been making shows left and right. I mean, his game is beautiful. I love his game.
Old style in the new generation.
Yeah, for this current environment where you're playing extremely deep and steep angles. And you got to be able to bring the ball back from nowhere, and you got to be able to loft it. Except like guys like that are at a serious disadvantage.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problems that the tour deal with is the fronts hook, and like the two-handers have an advantage sometimes because they're able to get the ball over the heads, and then you're still able to get the ball to hook back from the back of the lane and carry. The problem when you're like a Thomas or a Frankie is you have to move left, and then your ball burns up, and then you have no energy into the pocket, and your carry percentage drops dramatically. And that's coming from someone who has a pretty similar style, Mike, to like a Thomas or a Frankie, and just power, traditional one-handed, lower rev rate compared to competing with these people that can move left and loft the heads. Anyway, then you start going down real quick the next 5, and then I think we could probably finish there because you start getting into some of the like real Cam Crow, Wes Malott, Michael Tang, Brad Miller, Mitch Hoope. So I feel like now you're just getting to the
Was that last year? Because I don't even remember Michael Tang bowling last year.
That's what it says here.
Okay.
So to me, that's when you're just getting into the either rookie or veterans that maybe should think about like, okay, am I PBA 50? So
no doubt.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Mike. I think we did a good job at least going through the players. And yeah, we'll talk more next week.
Definitely more preview next week.
More preview next week.
Preview, probably talk some specific tournament preview, talk about some who we think winners will be. Maybe discussion of some selling and buying of player stock.
Oh man, I get in trouble every time that segment we do.
Right.
Remember Kyle Troop came on, and I
Yeah.
stole his stock, and he was pissed, and he was on an interview with us. Like, Rob, I heard you sold my stock, and I'm like, geez.
Yeah, I almost feel like I have to be careful about what I say in an episode like that, because if I have a hot enough take, you're going to definitely put it on the AI chop block and have that for the people.
I sold Belmo stock. Remember last year?
Yeah,
I did, and see, I would have actually. He went from, I probably would have broke even on that stock. But yeah, so we'll do that next week, and then so you want to do worst of the week and get out of here, enjoy our Super Bowl?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go. Kyle's in the chat. Kyle Cook, what's up? What's up, Kyle? Charlie Tapp, Ass Crack Guy, still talking about the dark horse for the tour. I think maybe if it was in the 80s, I'd imagine there was some tour guys that showed some ass crack, Mike, right? Probably. All right,
I think
I'm going to share a video.
Yeah.
Going to share a video today. I will try to talk through it for the people listening on audio, but this actually was posted by Barstool Sports, Mike. I know your favorite bowling content provider, Barstool, because you know how much they love bowling. So this was from an Instagram of they call it the worst bowling attempt of all time, Mike. So I'm going to play it and then talk through what happened, but this has got to be one of the top worst bowling shots I've ever seen in my life. So let's play it real quick. So I will replay it again. This kid is obviously a recreation bowler. Went up to throw this shot, and he hit the computer screen above him. It's terrible. The whole monitor is shot. So this goes to this gentleman. I don't know his name. Obviously, it's Barstool Sports. Throwing it at a monitor and hitting it. So I'm sure he probably ended up paying for that monitor. And if this was a Bolero, they probably charged him like $3,000 to replace a 24-inch monitor.
Man, would you want to deal with Bolero and having to break a monitor at Bolero?
No, I wouldn't. And I would probably end up giving them, I would probably go to some Costco and get a price from that monitor and give them that instead of paying them. But did you know that Barstool Carl got fired? I didn't know that.
Yes, I did.
Oh, Jimmy's saying in the chat, they didn't stop caring about bowling since Barstool Carl got fired. I'm sure Mike was real unhappy about when he got fired.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't want to gloat and make a big parade of it on social media. You know, obviously,
Yeah, it's someone gets fired, you don't want to like celebrate, I guess. Right?
You know, but we had beef. It's cool. You know, keep it moving.
If anybody doesn't remember that whole shenanigans on Twitter, Big Mike and Barstool Carl were going back and forth, and then me and Carl were actually talking on instant message. I was trying to get him on the show. I wanted to pop up him. I wanted to bring him on without telling Mike, and that would have been amazing content. But Barstool Carl didn't want to go on some bowling podcast, and I don't really blame him. But all right, Mike, what do you got?
I realize that I don't think, you know how Facebook has the thing now where like it flips back between who posted it and something else, or whatever. But I didn't get this person's name who posted this. This is from the Greater Pensacola Bowling Facebook group page. Okay. And this person put this post up, and they said, someone send me a team score higher than this one for this winter league. I'm curious if we're the highest currently. Okay, that's what they put up on the post. And the score was for a five-person 3-game league. Okay, the games were 1171, high of 279, low of 197. 1166, high of 289, low of 162. And 1158, high of 279, low of 181 for a total of 3495. 3495 for 5 people. And this person said, someone send me a team score higher than this one for this winter league. I'm curious if we're the highest currently. Then they edited the post. They came back and edited the post, I guess, because they got so many responses from people.
I were like, not even close.
Giving them the bad news that 3,400 really isn't even all that high. So yeah, they edited the post and they said, I posted this in the greater Pensacola. I should have specified I was talking about in the city, not the U.S. That's on me, laughing out loud. But 3,800 is insane because somebody in the comments came and posted a 3,800 series, I guess, for the same thing. I'll be honest. I don't know if they really did only mean the Pensacola area. The way the post is worded, I know they posted it there, but the way the post is worded is like, show me a higher series anywhere. We crushed it, And I tend to think that's probably what their thinking was until they started to see the notifications pop up and bring, and it was like post after post about 3,400. No, we shot 36. We shot 37. We shot 37.50. We shot 37.75.
You were like 34.95. Like, did you guys even
we
cash?
averaged 3,500 over here.
You guys even cash?
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting post, and I give that worst of the week.
All right, Mike. Let's wrap it up.
All right. We forgot a segment that we have to do.
What's that? Oh, how to save bowling?
Yeah, something that would help bowling.
We'll pass next week, Mike.
Oh, but the people are going to be upset.
But it's already. We got to go. I got ribs in the smoker at Super Bowl. Like,
no doubt. Is that what you're doing? You got some ribs in the smoker.
Some ribs in the smoker. Got some. Just I haven't put in any of my bets yet. So I guess final thought would be Super Bowl predictions. And I know you're not big.
I'm honestly, I'm not even betting. I've been so cold. I'm clueless. So yeah, but for what it's worth, if you folks that are listening to this live, if you want my cold take, my freezing cold take, I like the Seattle Seahawks. So take that for what it's worth. So probably bet
score
Patriots and a Mac Hollins touchdown is probably the better bet.
Score predictions.
Wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks roll a little bit here. Like, let's say 28-13, 28-17, something like that.
Okay. I think it's going to be closer.
Okay.
I think, put me on record, Seahawks 28, Patriots 24.
Okay.
And I think that it's going to come down to it's going to be a closer game than you think it's going to be. And that's just because I think Vrabel can get the defense that it could maybe shake Darnold a little bit. Just from previous Patriots, I have a lot of history watching Darnold play against Patriots defenses. And he's always struggled against Patriot defenses. And if you don't think Vrabel called up Belichick in the last 2 weeks to get some opinions on what I really believe that they are able to get to Darnold a little bit.
Okay.
So it wouldn't surprise me though if the Patriots.
You still think Seattle wins though?
I do, because I think Seattle's the better team.
Okay.
I think Seattle's the better team in general, but it wouldn't surprise me though if the Patriots do find a way to win the game, and I'd be pissed because I seriously don't want to hear about another Patriots Super Bowl and everything else that comes with that. And being a Jet fan is just miserable to watch.
Yeah, I'm particularly I'm going to watch the game and I'm going to have some food for the game. I made some hot sauce today. I'm going to have some wings and shrimp, etc. But I'm particularly down by the Super Bowl this year, just because the Eagles are the defending champs, and last year was so much fun to watch them go on that playoff run and make a deep run and make the Super Bowl. And their season came to such a crashing halt and end this year that that's sort of what has stuck with me. So I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm going to watch the commercials and the halftime show and all that. Obviously I love the pomp and circumstance of the Super Bowl, but I'm definitely not as in tune with this Super Bowl as I was with previous ones, especially the last few years, the Eagles being involved in a couple. So.
Yeah, prediction, if anybody's betting on any of the props, yellow is the Gatorade color. And because I'll tell you, last year it was yellow. I believe it was yellow or lime or whatever. And then 2 years it was back-to-back blue. And then 2 years I think was black back-to-back, same color. So I'm going on the trend of back-to-back years of the same Gatorade color.
Okay.
The Gatorade that pours on the winning coach.
All
so
right.
put that on your profits.
You heard it here. If you're listening live, get it in. Hit us with the emails. SweepTheRack@gmail. We always like hearing from everybody. Hit us up on social media. We do most of our talking on X, but we're at Sweep the Rack everywhere. On X, he's at Brooklyn Rob 11. I'm at the 215.
We're on TikTok. We're on Facebook,
YouTube, everywhere. Instagram, Sweep the Rack. Just look us up. Merch. If you want merch, InsideBowling.com. We got merch on there. Content creators, Sweep the Rack. Use the code Patch Pirates, 15% off. Anything else, Rob?
No, we'll see you next week on our second part of our player preview, PBA 2026 preview. Yeah.
All right. We'll be back next week, and we will dry our tears with everyone. The football season's over, but we will look forward to the start of a new professional bowling season. So everybody have a good week.
Peace.
Take it easy. Enjoy the Super Bowl, or I hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl if you're listening to this after. Your boy still got it in for you today. Take it easy.
Later, guys.
You are now listening to Sweep the Rack podcast featuring Brooklyn Rob and Big Mike.